Thank you so much. Well, what I'm going to cover in this session today is some of the steps that you can take to develop your own wellness strategy. We've heard a lot about what other companies have done so far, but I'm hopefully going to break it up a little bit to you. On the second part, Laura, who's a senior rewards officer at the law firm Baker McKenzie, is going to talk to their case study and put some of the tips into practice. You would have all received the REBA Wellness Service, and you would know now that Punter Southall Health and Protection supported that survey. As Phil mentioned, a third of the respondents already have a strategy in place. But don't be concerned if you don't, because out of those third, only 75% only put it in place over the last 3 years. So it's definitely not late to get started, but you're probably at a good time to consider having a strategy now. So what I'm going to talk about is 7 easy, straightforward steps. Don't worry about writing down all these steps. We're going to go through each and every one in a little bit more detail, and I do believe the slides will be made available after today's session. First of all, you need to identify who's going to have the overall responsibility for your wellness strategy. So whether you set a wellness committee or a steering group, whichever way you want to do it, have someone that's going to lead that responsibility. The survey, the REBA survey, indicated that tends to fall on HR. And I know we've heard some of the case studies earlier today where companies invest in a full-time well-being champion, a full-time person to look after this. Some companies may not have the funds to do so. So if you don't, then you may want to put the overall responsibility within HR. But in addition to that, make sure that you involve employees and colleagues from other sections of the business. That could be occupational health, health and safety. You may want to involve finance and marketing, especially if you want to make some niche ideas for what you want to launch. And importantly, get management buy-in from the top. If someone from the senior management team or even at the board can be part of the wellness committee, you're at a very good starting point. Or if they don't have the time to be part of the committee themselves, if they can promote at board level, you'll be in a good position. Even at this early stage, try and identify who your wellness and well-being champions may be. If you have more than one location, you're going to need someone on the ground that's going to support and promote your wellness program outside of the head office. So identify who those may be. It's usually employees that have like working in health and wellness, and they have a good rapport with their colleagues. Once you've agreed who's going to be in this committee, you then need to look at the data that you have in place and analyze some of it. We heard earlier that you need to consider where you are now before you start the journey. There is no point in putting in place one-off initiatives because they're not going to be successful and you're not going to get the return that you wish. What you need to consider when you do the data analysis is who is your workforce? And this is very much where the strategy becomes key to you. What are the average age of your workforce? What are the sort of salary bands? And also the gender split of your employees. And are there any particular risk factors associated with the work that you carry out within your business? Then looking at the benefits that you already have in place. Most of you would have quite good benefit packages. I've mentioned some of the different benefits on the slide, but there are more, such as dental as well. What you want to find is the utilization of those benefits, the spend that you invest in those benefits, and also claims data. If you're a large enough employer, your insurance company should be able to give you aggregate claims data. So that will give you an idea of what people actually are claiming for, so the type of conditions they are ill with. Most of these providers will also offer what we call additional services or added value services. Look into whether or not you're using those. Most standalone employee assistance providers have dashboards and wellness sites which you can log on to, get podcasts about mental health and resilience, and also get top tips, not only about mental well-being, but also financial as well. Then absence management. We've heard a little bit about whether or not to measure return on investment, but at this stage, do get a general idea of what your absence figures tell you in your business. Identify the short-term, long-term absence, and also what type of conditions people are off with. If you look at both the benefits and the absence management figures, you should get an idea of what type of health conditions are of a concern for your company. It tends to be mental health and stress and also musculoskeletal, depending on whether or not you have an active workforce. Policies and procedures. This one is actually key because it tells you a lot about how your company are. Review your policies and procedures and identify whether or not they support health and wellness. NICE, the National Institute for Care and Health Excellence, issued some guidelines in June 2015 called Workplace Policy and Management Practices to improve the health and well-being of employees. It's a bit of a mouthful, but the guidelines are very good to show what you as a company can do to promote health and well-being internally. None of them actually involve much investment. So I think one of the questions earlier on, what can I do with no or limited budget? Start looking at those guidelines because it could guide you as to what practices you could put in place to promote health and wellness. And then the initiatives, the well-being initiatives that are already there. That could be anything from walking groups that some key employees have set up. It could be health screenings. We mentioned the health screenings before. If you do offer health screenings, and I'm not talking about the executive health screenings because you won't get the data back from that, but if you offer health screenings to all employees, look at the data because you will have sort of key risk factors there as to what could be problematic. So high blood pressure as well. And for those of you who are keen to have your metrics measured today, we have a kiosk on the stand, so give it a try afterwards and see whether you're within the recommended limits. Should probably say do that before any of the football games starts, especially if you're a football fan, because it may play onto your blood pressure. So after you've looked at your data, you need to consider the recipients. Don't just say, oh yeah, we have a problem here with mental well-being. We're going to focus on that. Ask your employees what they would like to see in the wellness program, and also ask them what they think you do well and not so well. Because you may find that they have a slightly different opinion as to what you do and a slightly different area they want to focus. So you may go in thinking mental health and resilience program will be the key for us. And you ask employees and it appears that it's the work practices and the lack of flexibility that you as an employer offer that's the main problem. Then you may want to look at the policies and procedures first before you then progress into developing a mental well-being program. Armed with the information that you get from employees and the data, you should now be able to set yourself some clear aim and objectives for the strategy. You will know where your baseline is. You should have a pretty good idea of what you want to achieve, and you need to then identify how you're going to achieve that, and whether it's going to be a short-term objective, sort of the next 12 months, medium-term objective for the next 3 to 5 years, or the long-term, sort of the 2020 vision. If you're able to align your wellness program aim and objectives with your corporate strategy, you're going to ensure that you get buy-in on an ongoing basis, and that's key. And budget. I left that one out to last because I understand that a lot of you may not have much budget in place to invest in health and wellness. Part of the reason why we recommend you do an audit of everything you have in place is to identify whether there's any funds that you're spending on something that can be reinvested. Maybe you have doubling up on services. A lot of companies have standalone EAPs and employee assistance program attached to other benefits as well. You may spend more on one service than you anticipate. If you're able to save money in any of these initiatives that you have in place now, you can reinvest that in your wellness strategy. Designing your strategy, Carl Chapman will be talking right before lunch about how you can design your strategy. But I wanted to sort of bring to light that we tend to work with our clients sort of on pillars. So we tend to suggest that they identify a couple of pillars where they want to focus their wellness strategy on. And they can put then all their employee benefits and also any additional well-being initiatives under each of those pillars. Worth mentioning that you'll see that these are our sort of pillars because they relate to hands. So our imagery, Punter Southall's imagery, is very much hands. Make it your own. You may want to change the wording and the names of your wellness program. So at nutrition, eat well, for example. Physical activity, I believe Dixon did a great campaign a couple of years ago called Average to Awesome. And it's a really good name for an initiative to encourage those employees that may not be running the marathons to actually participate and become physically more active. So create your own pillars, use your own imagery and gimmick, and take it from there. If you have a marketing team that can help you with that internally, then you may not need to go and source external support for that service. And then you need to launch your program. And when you launch your program, you need to do it through multiple channels. You can utilize bulletin boards, emails, podcasts, and we had one of our clients had a bit of a dilemma because they have a workforce that aren't just office-based, they have factories, and they also have a travelling sales force. And what they decided to do, because they realised the people on the cars are not going to look at the intranet site. So they had an intranet site, but in addition they provided all the employees with a lunch bag with the logo of the wellness program at the front, and a water bottle, an activity tracker, and a map of walks that they can make around the local area. Very good way of driving attention towards the website that they created. And last but not least, you need to evaluate and refine your program. Measuring return on investment isn't that straightforward, but it doesn't mean that you shouldn't get a baseline and then review what impact the wellness program has on that baseline. Employee engagement is a fairly easy one, and most companies should carry out some form of an employee engagement survey each year. You can measure then the engagement score year on year, and hopefully once people are engaged, you will see an increase in that. The employee health data relates to sort of the biometrics, so if you offer health screening, measure that every year or every second year. Participation rate and employee satisfaction. The reason why I've mentioned that is that if people aren't satisfied with a certain initiative, you need to refine your strategy. You need to look at alternative solutions for what you want to achieve. And I have put healthcare claims, health costs and claims data there as well, because we come from a consultancy house, but what we tend to do, we tend to look at the impact it has on this. And yes, you may not see a significant impact at the early stage, but hopefully in the long run, it should help you reduce some of the costs. So now I'm going to hand over to Laura, who's going to show us and tell us a little bit about what they've done at Baker McKenzie.
Hello everyone, my name is Laura Smith and I'm a Senior Award Officer at Baker McKenzie, and I'm really pleased to be here today to share our story of launching our wellbeing programme with you. Baker McKenzie are a law firm based in London, and we have around 800 employees, which is made up of lawyers, support staff, PAs and so on. We're a partnership, so we also have about 100 partners, all located in one office. So I'm just going to spend a few minutes to share with you some background about how we created and launched our wellbeing programme. So where did our journey start? Every 2 years, we run a comprehensive employee engagement survey, and we ask all of our people to be as honest as possible about telling us what we're doing well and what we could do better. Whilst much of the survey was really positive, with around 96% of our staff saying they're proud to be working for Baker McKenzie, the results did show us some clear areas where we needed to make improvements. Our management committee, I'm pleased to say, were heavily involved in the analysis of the results, and were able to break down the results into 3 key projects. The first was around agile working. People told us they wanted to work in a more agile way to help them balance and manage their work and personal lives more effectively. The other was around our working practices. The feedback was that we needed to improve our internal processes, streamline them to help people do their roles more effectively. This included things like IT provision and work allocation. And health and wellbeing, of course, was another area that we needed to look at. And the survey really highlighted to us that we needed to enhance the support the firm offers people in respect of health and wellbeing, and to really provide greater awareness of all the benefits and services that are already available to them. And this was really our kickstart into launching our wellbeing programme, Baker Wellbeing. We needed to develop a programme that supported everyone by creating a culture that encouraged a supportive environment and brought together all the range of services that we provided already. So as I said, we already had an extensive benefits package, but we really needed to think about how we communicated that more clearly to people. Took the approach we just mentioned and looked at the different pillars. And when we were thinking about this, we felt that there were the 4 pillars that were fundamental to maintaining a healthy lifestyle were mental resilience, health, exercise and diet. So we based our programme around this. In having these 4 pillars, we really felt that it was help us to focus our communications and activities, and these have become fundamental to our entire programme. We also created and launched a focus group. We just felt it was really important to continuously find out what it was people working in the firm really wanted, get their views about the initiatives that we wanted to launch, but also find out what they wanted us to do as well and help shape the programme. The group started with just a few members, and today we're over 65, so it's still growing. We also had a partner sponsor, which we've really found that having a senior member of the firm leading the group has really helped to raise its status and promotion across the firm. So in May last year, we were ready to launch Baker Wellbeing. We coincided our launch with Mental Health Awareness Week, which enabled us to focus on mental resilience. And we used a wide range of communication methods to get our message across to the firm. The first was a launch email from our HR director explaining to everybody what the programme was and why we were doing it. We had information screened on the TV screens in our communal areas to give people more information about Baker Wellbeing, what it was, and where to find further guidance. We had an external speaker come in for a lunchtime seminar. His name's John Binns. He's an ex-Deloitte partner, and he shared his personal experience of suffering from and overcoming severe stress-related depression. He also explored how to maximise personal resilience and how potentially to prevent mental health issues. We asked our EAP provider to come into the office, so in a communal area near our staff restaurant, to hand out leaflets and just speak to people in an informal way about the services they could receive and how to access them from the EAP. We also launched an intranet page with all the information about Baker Wellbeing split into the 4 pillars. Another thing we did was actually run a pilot workshop called Building Resilient Teams. This was run by Bill Mitchell, who's a clinical psychologist. We got some of our senior partners and other senior members of the firm to attend the pilot session. The purpose of the session was to help recognise signs of stress and pressure in people in their team, but also to recognise it within oneself and practical actions on how to sustain resilience both in and outside of work. So, in the last year, we've continued to provide ongoing support to our employees and really focus these around the 4 pillars. I'm just going to give you some examples of those now. So for mental resilience, we held the pilot, as I said, last year, and we actually ran the training there for all of our department managers more recently, and we had some fantastic feedback from them. They now want us to roll out that training to their teams, so we're looking to roll out the training across the whole firm. We launched the This Is Me campaign, which you may have heard of or not, but the This Is Me is a city-wide mental health initiative that was launched by the Lord Mayor's office in conjunction with Barclays and some other mental health charities. The aim of the campaign is to reduce the stigma around mental health in the workplace and to raise awareness of wellbeing generally. This is done by encouraging employees to share their own experiences of their mental health issues. And in May this year, again, for Mental Health Awareness Week, we did just that. We had 16 people volunteer from our firm to share their experiences of their own mental health issues. And we've had a fantastic response to the campaign's launch so far. We've also run other seminars in-house at lunchtimes to make it really easy for people just to pop along and communicated clear pathways of support, whether that's the EAP, law care, so an external body, or whether it's CBT through our medical insurance provider. Under the health pillar, we've had a health kiosk visit the office. As Beate said, there's one outside, so you can try it for yourself. It's located in a communal area, and everybody in the building is free to use it. In fact, some people used it more than once. The kiosk tests, it's like a mini health MOT, and tests key indicators like your BMI, body fat content, blood pressure, and so on. And people get a personalised report to take away from them. What's really exciting for us is that we received anonymised data, so we're able to use that information about the health of our office to help really shape our programme going forwards. Our focus group were instrumental in creating our own cancer support group. This was something that people said they wanted us to do, and our focus group really took forward and led the initiative. The purpose of the group is really to provide emotional and practical support to people in our office who've been affected by cancer, whether that's themselves or a colleague, loved one. They attended training by Macmillan, so we had around 20 people trained by Macmillan earlier in the year to give them the tools to be able to carry out this role. And that's widely promoted around the firm and other initiatives that we run to support Macmillan, the charity. We've also started working with a local physiotherapy practice. So once a week, they use a room in our office to carry out physiotherapy. So if someone is referred for physio, they can easily access it in our office. And we've also increased our on-site GP clinics. Under the exercise pillar, we were really excited to provide everyone in the whole office with a Fitbug earlier this year, as demonstrated here. So a Fitbug, if you don't know, is something that you wear about your person. It counts your steps, calories burnt, sleep, and that kind of thing. On the first day, we gave away over 450. People were really excited to receive their own Fitbug. There's quite a lot of competitiveness around the office, around how many steps people are doing. I certainly see more people using the stairs nowadays. We're going to be doing a firm-wide walking challenge later this year, so people are getting into teams and using their Fitbugs to measure their steps, so hopefully create some more competitiveness around there and raise some money for charity at the same time. Under diet, we've run various things. I've One of those was we've worked with our local on-site caterers, who run our restaurant to promote healthy eating in both our sort of breakfast, lunch and evening meals, to ensure that we have healthy options always available. And also to look at the options available for meeting rooms. We tended to have biscuits and sandwiches tended to be on the menu, but now there's lots of different healthy options available to people, and they're promoted when they're booking meeting rooms as well. We've also run free fruit months, so free fruit is just available for everybody in the kitchen areas for months at a time. We also ran a seminar called Good Mood Food, which was hosted by Alison Clark, a dietitian, and she talked to people about how different types of food can affect your mood and your general well-being. So what's next for Baker Wellbeing? Well, like any programme, I think this will just continue to be an evolving journey for us. We need to and want to continue engaging with our focus group and grow the membership. Interestingly, we seem to have more people from our business services roles and fee earners, so we want to try and really address that balance to make sure that we're really representing the views of the entire firm. The two key areas for the next sort of 6 months or so for us that we're going to be focusing on is the mental resilience training rollout. There's a lot of people in the office to be trained, so that's a key focus for us. And looking at other ways to support people's mental health, for example, mental health first aider training. The other is analysing the data that we're going to get from, or we have got from our health kiosks, because again, as I said before, it's going to really help us shape our programme going forwards. And continuously along this journey, we need to ensure we're collaborating with the firm, so with our senior leadership, making sure that they're bought in and know what we're doing and interested in what we're doing and supporting that. And also with our other focus groups around the firm, so our different charity committees and so on, to see how we can all link together. So, to conclude, there are sort of certain steps that we think are really important in making our programme a success so far. And we think what's really helped us to really embed our programme is around having a clear understanding about our workforce and the needs of the business. In every organisation, certainly ours, there are givens and just things you simply can't change. That might be long working hours or tight deadlines, last-minute deadlines. But whatever strategy that you implement really needs to complement your organisation and your workforce. We were really fortunate to have buy-in from our senior leadership from the get-go, but their continuing engagement has been vital. Having a partner sponsor for our focus group has been really important, and as I said, has helped give the group a greater profile across the organisation. And I'm sure you'll find this as well, emails just don't always get read. So it's really important to use different styles of communication when trying to get messages across. Seminars, leaflets in kitchen areas, informal drop-in sessions, they all really help. Not everything needs a big budget, and it can often be the case of just making people aware of what's actually there already. A series of small things can often have a big effect. And lastly, I think it might sound a bit cheesy, but I think I can vouch for everyone that's been involved in the wellbeing programme at Baker's. And there are a lot of people involved in lots of different ways to make this work. We've heard and had great feedback from colleagues and from leadership around the programme, and it's really satisfying knowing we've made a difference to them and making the office a nicer place to work. I think we've got some time for some questions.
Well, thank you. Have we got any questions on Slido? Okay, right. So we'll go with the top one at the moment. So if I can get MI from providers to enable my organisation to make decisions on wellbeing strategy, what should my plan be to decide how to invest here? So that's a question. Who would like to answer that one?
What you could do, I think you need to then, if you can't get the MI from the providers and you don't have a screening program in place, then it's even more important that you carry out a survey to find out what people want, and also talking to key individuals such as occupational health and safety. They generally tend to have a reasonable idea of what some of the health challenges within your workforce may be. Same goes for the absence figures. I know that a lot of companies aren't great at reporting absence, but look at what you have. It doesn't mean that you can't start a program. It will become quite apparent if you have, even just having focus group. So sit around with the local offices and ask them what they're looking for and what they think causes them problems.
Okay, we've got time for one more question. So the most popular one is, how much did this programme cost to date? So that's one for Laura, I think.
Interesting question. Well, say a lot of the things that we've done didn't always cost a lot of money. So leaflets and seminars and things like that don't always cost as much as you might think. We did a lot of, well, most of the design in-house. I think budget spend this year is around £5,000. So in a year, so that's how much we spent on different seminars and so on. So, yeah.
And I want to add to that part, in terms of what Baker and McKenzie has done, the fact that they have really pushed the benefits that are already in place, and have also aligned it with some of the sort of health awareness weeks that are going on at the moment. There's nothing to say that you can't use that approach. This is me as one example. This week is the Diabetes Week. What happens during those weeks is that there's a lot of press around about those services initiatives. So utilise that as part of your programme and use the added value from the especially employee assistance programme providers. It's very underutilised service, and a lot of them do have websites where you can link it in to provide sort of top tips on health and wellness.
Okay, well that's all the time we've got, I'm afraid. So thank you very much, Beate and Laura. That was very interesting. Thank you.